were in the nails of a ruinous church, blinking up at the vaulted ceiling, and the tail swaggled, swagged wall with their faded waistcoats. The floor of the church was deep in dry guano and the dropping of cattle and sheep. Pigeons flapped through the piers of dusty light, and three buzzards hopped about on the picket pole carcass of some animal dead in the chancel. In the chancel. His head was in torment and his tongue swollen with thirst. He sat up and looked around him. He had put the bottle under his saddle, and he found it and held it up and shook it and drew the cork and drank. He sat his eye closed, with his eye closed. The sweat beer, the, the sweat beat on his forehead, the sweat beat on his forehead. Then he opened his eyes and drank again. The buzzards stepped down one by one and trotted off into the sacristy. After a while, he rose and went out to look for the mule. It was somewhere inside. The mission occupied 8 or 10 acres of enclosed land, a barren purlieu that held a few goats and burros. In the mud wall, in the mud walls of the enclosure were crypts inhabited by families of squatters, and a few cook fires smoked thinly in the sun. He walked around the side of the church and entered the enormous yard. The domed vaults overhead were clothed with a dark fur mass that shipped and braided and chittered. In the room was a wooden table. In the room was a wooden table with a few clay pots, and along the back wall lay the remains of several bodies. One a child. He went on through the sacristy into the church again and got his saddle. He drank the rest of the bottle, and he put the saddle on his shoulder and went out. The facade of the building bore an array of saints in their niche, and they had been shot up by American troops trying their rifles. The, fig- the figure shone of ear and nose and darkly molded with lead marks oxidizes upon the stone. The huge caves and the huge carved and paneled doors hung awhile on their hinge and blinking in the noon heat. When he saw the mule track, uh, then he saw the mule track. They were just the palest disturbance of the dust, and they came out of the door of the church and crossed the lot to the gate in the east wall. He hid the sandal higher onto his shoulder and set out after them. A dog in the shade, a dog in the shade of the portal rose and lurched sullenly out into the sun until he had passed, and then lurched back. He took the road down the hill toward the river, a ragged figuring up. He entered a deep wood of pecan and oak, and the road took a side, and he could see the river below him. Black were washing a carriage, a carriage in the ford, and he went down the hill and stood at the edge of the water, and after a while he called out to them. He went sopping water over the black paperwork, and one of them raised up and turned to look at him. The horses stood o- the horses stood to their knees in the curtain. "What?" called the black. "Have you seen a mule?" "Mule? I lost a mule. I think he's come this way." The black wept The black wiped his hand with the back of his arm. Something come from something come down the road about Something come down the road about an old bag. I think it went down the river yonder. It might have been a mule. It didn't have no tail nor no hair to speak of. It didn't have no tail or no hair to speak of, but it did have long ears. The other two black grinned. The kid looked off down the river. He spat and set off along the path, through the wind, through the willows and swale of grass. He found it about 100 yards downriver. It was wet to its belly, and it looked up at him, and then lowered its head again into the lush river rash. He drew down the saddle and took up the trailing rope and tied the animal to a limb and kicked it half-heartedly. It slipped slightly to the side and continued to race. He reached atop his head, but he had lost the crazy hat somewhere. He made his way down to the tree and stood looking at the cold, swirling water. Then he waded out into the river like some wally wretched Pastimo candidate. Chapter 3. Chapter 3. Saw out to join an army. Interview with Captain White. His views, the camp, trade his mule, a cantina in the Ladito, a man not knighted, companion killed. He was lying naked under the trees with his rags spread across the limb above him when another rider going down the river ran up and stopped. He turned his head. Through the willow he could see the legs of the horse. He rolled over on his stomach. The man got down and stood beside the horse. He reached and got his twine twin-handled knife. "Howdy there," "Howdy there," said the rear rider. He did not answer. He moved to the side to see better through the branches. "Howdy there, where you at? What do you want? Where did you talk to you? What about? Hellfire, come on out. I'm White and Kristen." The kid was reaching up through the willow trying to get his bridges. The bell was hanging down and he tugged at it, but the bridges were hung on a limb. "God damn," said the man. "You ain't up in the tree, ain't ya? Why don't you go on and leave me the hell alone? I just want to talk to ya. Didn't intend to gear all right up. You done got me riding. What you, was you the fellow knocking in that messer head yesterday evening? I ain't the law." "Who wants to know?" "Captain White. He wants to sign that fella up to join the army." "The army?" "Yes, sir." "What army?" "Company and the Captain White. We're going whip up on the Mexicans. The war's over." "He say it ain't over." "Where are you at?" He rose and hauled the breeches down from where he would hung them and pull them on. He pulled on his boots and put the knife in the right bootleg and came out from the willow pulling on his shirt. The man was sitting in the grass with his legs crossed. He was dressed in buckskin and he wore a black hat of dirty black silk, and he had a small Mexican cigar in the corner of his teeth. Then he saw what cloud its way out through the willow. He shook his head. "Kindly fell on, Carly fell on hard time in yes, son, he said. I just ain't failed on no good ones. You ready go to you ready go you ready to go to Mexico? I ain't lost nothing down there. It's a game for you to raise your share in the world. You bet you bet make a move some way or another 4 year go plumb in under. What do they give here? Every man get a horse and his ammunition. And a gun. We might find some clothes in your case. I ain't got no rifle. Rifler. Rifler. Welfare you want. What about wage? Hellfire, son. You won't need no wage. You you get to give everything you can raise. We going to Mexico. Spoiled world. Ain't a man in the Ain't a man in the company won't come out in the big landowner. How much land you own now? I don't know nothing about solder, soldering. The man eyes him. He took the unlit cigar from his teeth and turned his head and spat and put it back again. Where you from? He said. Tennessee. Tennessee? Well, I don't miss that. But what you can shoot at the river. The kid squatted in the rash. He looked at the man's horse. The horse was fitted out in the tool leather with worked silver rim. It had a white blaze on its face and 4 white stockings, and it was cropping up great teeth full of the rich rash. Where you from? Said the kid. I've been in Texas since '38. If I would not run up on Captain White, I don't know where I would be this day. I was a soldier size 7, and that's what you are. And he come along and raised me up like Lazarus, set my feet in the path of righteousness. I would done took to drinking and whoring till hell wouldn't have me. He said something in me's worth saving and I see it in you. What do you say? I don't know. Just come with me and meet the captain. The boy pulled at the arm of grass. He looked at the horse again. Well, he said, don't reckon it would hurt nothing. They rode through they rode through the town with the rich girl splendid on the stalking footed horse and the kid behind him on the mule like something he would capture. They rode through narrow lane where the wife on her steamed in the heat. Ras and Freaky Pearl on the roof and go walk it about on them, and somewhere off in that squalid kingdom of mud, the sound of the little dead bell tolled thinly. They turned up Commerce Street through the main plaza among wrap of wagon, and they crossed another plaza where boys were selling grapes and figs from little truckload carts. A few bony dogs slang up before them. They rode through the military plaza and they passed the little street where the boy and the mule had drunk the night before, and there were clusters of women and girls at the well and many shapes of wicker covered clay jars standing about. They passed a little house where women inside were wailing, and the little hucksters stood at the door with the horses patient and motionless in the heat and the fly. The captain kept quarter in the hotel on the plaza where there were trees and a small green gazebo with benches. An iron gate at the hotel front opened in passageway with a courtyard at the rear. The walls were whitewashed, except with a little ornate colored tiles. The captain man wore carved boots with tall heels that ran smartly on the title, and on the stair ascending from the courtyard to the room above. In the courtyard there were green plants growing, and they were freshly watered and steaming. The captain man strolled down the long balcony and rapped sharply at the door at the end. A voice said for them to come in. He sat a wick he sat at a wicker work desk writing letter. The captain They stood attending the captain man with his black hat in his hands. The captain rolled on, nor did he look up. Outside, the kid could hear a woman speaking in Spanish. Other than that, there was just scratching of the captain's pen. When he had done, he laid down the pen and looked up. He looked at his man, and then he looked at the kid, and then he bent his head to read what he had written. He nodded to his cell and dusted the letter with sand from a little on his board and folded it. Taking a match from a box of them on the desk, he lit it and held it to a stick of sealing wax until a small red medallion had pulled onto the paper. He shook out the match, blew briefly at the paper, and knuckled the seal with his ring. Then he stood the letter between two books on his desk and leaned back in his chair and looked at the kid again. He nodded bravely. "Take seat," he said. They eased themselves into a kind of saddle made from some dark wood. The captain's man had a large revolver at his belt, and at his head he hitched the belt around so that the piece lay rather cradled between his thighs. He put his head over it and leaned back. The kids followed his boots one behind the other and sat upright. The captain pushed his chair back and rose and came around to the front of the desk. He stood there for a measured minute, and then he hitched himself up on the desk and sat with his boot dangling. He had gray in his hair and in the sweeping mustache that he wore, but he was not old. "So you were the man," he said. "What man?" said the kid. "What man, sir?" said the captain man. "How old are you, son?" 19. The captain nodded his head. He would look at the kid over. "What happened to you?" "What?" "Say, sir," said the recruiter. "Sir?" "I say, what happened to you?" The kid looked at the man sitting next to him. He looked down at himself, and then he looked at the captain again. "I was found by robber," he said. "Robber?" "Robbers," said the captain. "Took everything I had. Took my watch and everything." "Have you got a rifle?" "A rifle?" "No, not no more I ain't." Where was it you were robbed?" "I don't know. There was no name to it. It was just a wilderness. Where were you coming from?" "I was coming from Naka. Nacogdoches? Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir." "How many were there?" "They there." The kid stared at him. "Robbers? How many robbers?" "7 or 8, I reckon. I got buzzed in the head with a scanlet." The captain squinted one eye at him. "Were they Mexicans?" "Some. Mexican and niggers. There was one or two with them. There was a white or two with them. They had a bunch of cattle they stole. Only thing they left me with was an old piece of knife I had in my boot." The captain nodded. He folded his hand between his knees. "What do you think of the treaty?" he said. The kid looked at the man on the saddle next to him. He had his eyes shut. He looked down at his thumbs. "I don't know nothing about it," he said. "I'm afraid that's the case with a lot of Americans. said the captain. Where are you from, son? Tennessee. You weren't with the volunteer at Monterey, were you? No, sir. Greatest bunch of men under fire I believe I ever saw. I suppose more men from Tennessee bled and died on the field in northern Michigan than from any other state. Did you know that? No, sir. Tomorrow.